Tell us about Vuguru and your process of creating content and how you monetize that content.
I think it's really interesting because you have growing, I think, digitally, two different types of content. You have the YouTube side of the house, which we dabble in with our YouTube Stan Lee channel, but you also have the Yahoo, Netflix, Amazon side of the house where it is much more about scripted programming that probably more closely resembles television. And so the monetization is very different depending on where that is. If you're on YouTube, it is very much about views. You have to drive views, and you have to figure out how to create ancillary product around that. You need to get to generally about 1 million US monetized views a month to even be considered for real advertising buys. And that means you're doing 3 to 4 million total views on a channel or on a show per month. Otherwise, you're not in the conversation. What's great is you have immediate feedback. So whether it's Wiggs or Stan Lee, you can adjust very quickly. On the other side, for Vuguru, we really operate a lot like a traditional television studio. We think of ourselves like a Warner Brothers Television or a Lionsgate Television. We start from great ideas. We create amazing content. And this starts from our chairman, Michael Eisner. We find a great idea, and we develop it from the ground up to work in multiple formats. So instead of developing for TV or for film, we think very early on about how will this work from a distributor? And that distributor may be Hulu, who wants television half hours. That may be AOL in the US, who wants short form, or it may be a television provider who wants to run it as a TV movie or as a miniseries. And so our monetization comes from licensing to distributors. International sales is very, very important to us. Rogers Media actually owns a portion of our company, and so they take Canadian rights. We have a deal with Fremantle, Content Media, BBC Worldwide internationally. So for us, it's a little bit more of that traditional model, but layering in where you don't get it in TV, we layer in rev share where we can, especially in the US. We actually share in the ad revenue.
All right.
And then, like everybody else, it's format. We're selling formats. We're doing ancillary products like books and stage and all these other things.
Cool. So if you're looking at that as a new, when you're looking at the new technology and the media and so forth, when you're making the decision, I just want to do a follow-up question. When you're making the decision to commission something, is there a structure where you make sure that the project is at a certain length, like there are cutoff points where it can work for television and it can work for the internet, which could only be like a 7-minute or 8-minute interstitial event, and then you can combine it all and then create a 90-minute format and then resell it internationally? Is that how it works?
So what we do is we don't ever think about it as cutting something up or just stitching it together, because I think that's where you run into problems.
Right.
In the development process, we make sure it works so that there is a natural break at 5, 6, 7 minutes, depending on the show. There's a natural break in those 22-minute TV half hours, and it works naturally as a feature. And what we found is it's a little harder to develop that way, and in terms of shooting it, to think through all of those logistics. But that way, when you put it together, you don't have to worry that suddenly you're stopping and starting. It's very much a natural piece. And so, a great example is the booth at the end. It's probably our #1 show. We actually sold that internationally. Content Media sold that to Fox International channels. They actually took our 10-minute version, put it on fx.com in the UK. They then took and they promoted the fact they were going to air it on FX. They then took the 522s we had and aired it as a mini series over 5 nights, where it got equivalent ratings to US TV product. And then it was sold as a feature on Love Film, Netflix, and iTunes. Rogers in Canada aired it as a broadcast TV movie on City TV and put the 10-minute version on Rogers on demand. And in the US, it aired as 5 half hours over 5 weeks on Hulu. So it worked really well across all of those, and it was top rated in all of those platforms, but it was completely different how you experience it depending on what the distributor wanted.